Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hi if you're new, and welcome to my first Netgalley reading vlog. Well, I'm finally going to start working through all the ARCs that I requested and were accepted on. So if you're not familiar with Netgalley, it is a website where you can request ARCs, advanced reader copies, of books that are coming out or have just come out, with the intention that you read and review them and talk about them online, on your channels, on Goodreads, however, to encourage other people to read the books. It's brilliant, it's free, and I have read some really amazing books from Netgalley. Now, on Netgalley, you get given a percentage, and that percentage works out how many books that you are given, but how many of those that you actually read and review. And they like your percentage to be 80%. So out of every 10 books that you have been given, you really should have read and reviewed 8 of them. My percentage currently is 46%, so it's not that brilliant. I tend to go through phases where I'll go on Netgalley and I'll request like a dozen books, and then I won't go on it for a couple of months. But when I've gone on and I've requested a dozen books, normally I think, well, I'm only going to get 1 or 2. And then a couple of times I've got nearly all of them, and it's just, the pile was just building up. It's getting a little bit overwhelming. So I have all of these books on my Kindle, but for some of them I wanted paper copies, and I'll explain to you why as we go. In this vlog, I'm hoping to get through up to 5 this month, which is a bit optimistic, but I've started 2. So on my Kindle, I have started Katie Roberts' Court of the Vampire Queen, which basically can be described in 2 words: vampire smut. I'm enjoying it. I'm about 50-60%, but I have been for a while now, and I just need to sit down and finish it. Another one I have just started today is Santa Montefiori's Flappy Investigates. Now, I have this copy of this book because it was a Christmas present, because this is one of my favourite authors. So I'd requested the ARC beforehand, hadn't got around to reading it, and then I was given this for Christmas. So I'm working my way through this. Now, I'm also listening to this today on script whilst I'm working, because I am working from home this afternoon. So I thought, let's make a start. Now, in this book we have Flappy, who is sort of her little countryside village's busybody. She's the one that handles all the social events. She knows everyone. She's like the queen bee of the village. Now, in the previous book, Flappy Entertains, there were some naughty occurrences that I didn't particularly care for, because I think if you do something naughty, you should be called out on it. And that didn't happen, so I was a bit reluctant to pick this up, but I'm giving Flappy another chance. So I've just finished chapter 1 of the audiobook, and we're going to persevere with this. Then I have a couple of middle grades I would like to get to this month. We have The Secret of Splint Hall and The Song of the River. If I get to these, I'll tell you more about them. And then I have a non-fiction, which is Colours of London History. And although I have this on my Kindle, I thought this would be a really good one to get a physical copy from my library, because it's full of pictures. So anyway, this is what we're going to do. We're going to aim to work through these 5, as many of them as possible this month, and see if we can get that percentage up a little bit. Hey, it's Thursday, it's lunchtime, and I am working from home because I have this lump here today. She's been out and about a couple of times, so she's absolutely shattered now. Yeah, I took her over to Grandad's, so she could be made a fuss of by Mum and Grandad for a little while. But anyway, the other half's on top of work stuff, so I am going to finally take down a Christmas tree, which I don't want to do, but it's going to happen. But while I do that, I'm going to continue with Flappy Investigates. I was listening to it as I've been walking this one today, and I've only got 2 hours left of the audiobook. I'm going to reserve judgment for the time being, because at the moment I'm not exactly feeling great about it. So let's see if the last couple of hours we can pull it back. It was so sad without the tree. Hello, you. So I'm shattered now because I've just taken down the tree down here and the one in the dining room. I haven't done the one on the landing. 2 trees in one day is enough. If I get a second wind after dinner, I'll do the upstairs, otherwise that can wait for another day. But I'm shattered. While I was doing the trees, however, I listened to a lot more of Flappy Investigates. Look, I'm like 65%, I think it is, of the way through. However, I'm not particularly impressed, but I will continue because I want to get through my Netgalley TBR. And that is one of them. Plus, it's still a book by my favourite author. I just wish that this and the previous book haven't been written because it has slightly affected the way that I feel about the author, which is a shame. Because before the Flappy books, there was... Okay, no, do you know what? There was another Duff one. I say a Duff one. It didn't sit well with me. It was... the writing is still beautiful. I love her descriptions and things, but... And I like most of her characters. Even in the books, I don't necessarily like all the elements of the story. So I wouldn't be able to give it sort of just like a 0 or a 1 out of 5 because there's still a lot of good in it. But this is the 3rd book now that I'm like, oh, we've gone from 4 or 5 stars for all of her other books. And I mean, mainly 5 stars. And then I've just read 3 that are just getting on my nerves. But anyway, it happens. It's not going to put me off reading her other books because I've read more good ones than not good ones. But I am determined to make a dent on my Netgalley TBR. So before the weekend, because I am currently down to work over the weekend, I would like to read this one. See if I can finish The Court of the Vampire Queen this week. And while I go to work, I would like to take one of the other books that I got out of the library off my Netgalley TBR. So let's see what we can do. So I have just finished Flappy Investigates. So this is coming off my Netgalley TBR. I will do a review soon. This is unfortunately going to be a generous 3 out of 5 stars. The story itself was fine. It would have been better had it not been overshadowed by non-stop talk about affairs and diets that weren't handled in the healthiest of ways, and it was just really frustrating. You know, no, I don't particularly like Flappy as a person. However, I believe I've met a few similar Flappies in the local community, so I get it, and it's quite humorous in places, but it just didn't do it for me, which is such a shame because as I've mentioned before, this author is a 5-star author for me. But this is now book 3 that of hers that hasn't made the 5-star, which is a shame. But anyway, we shall continue with the Netgalley TBR. The next one I think I'm going to read is a really short one. And this is, what is it? Song of the River by Jill Lewis. It's middle grade, I believe. It says, as Carrie and her mum try to rebuild their home and lives after a devastating flood, they hear of a plan to reintroduce beavers into the area. The changes these amazing animals make to waterways could help prevent further flooding, and Carrie knows that she has to get involved. But with the project facing resistance from other locals, can she convince them to give the beavers a chance? And would it be enough to save her home from being destroyed for a second time? So this is only a short one. It is only about 96 pages and the font is really big. So this shouldn't take me long to read. I don't think I'm going to get this started tonight. We'll see, but hopefully over the next few days I shall get this read. And I want to finish Court of the Vampire Queen as well over the next few days. I'm now 81% of the way through that. So that'll be 3 books then ticked off the Netgalley TBR when I get those read. But yeah, I'll catch up with you soon. Charming. Well, I was going to go for the cute imagery there, wasn't I, eh? Bit of the book there, nice fireplace on TV, little cute dog, and he just burps on camera. So I do apologise. That's the level of class in this house, it seems, at the moment. I just thought I'd read a couple of chapters before I start cooking dinner and stuff because it's really short. So far we've met Carrie, who has moved down to this river area with her mum after her dad passed away. And we've still got her grieving for her dad. It's not long happened. She doesn't want to move. She feels that she's, you know, the mum's almost escaping, but she's wanting to be where her dad was and where her friends were, where her school was, and I think she's just struggling a little bit at the moment. But the mum has decided to start this business down by the river, has got Carrie involved, and hopefully Carrie will see that there is still some good in the world. But at the moment, she's not in a good place. But that's as far as I've got. So I've just finished Song of the River. It's such a quick read and it's such a cute middle grade. It just took me no time at all to get through this. Really cute story. It does discuss grief, as I mentioned earlier, and, you know, normalises the feelings that are associated with it. The story with the introduction of I was going to call them badgers then, the beavers, it was really, really sweet. Learnt a little bit about beavers while I was reading it, have to say. Didn't know that much about them. But it was really, really cute, and it sort of shows the light at the end of the tunnel that, you know, yes, it hurts so much to lose someone, but actually your life does still go on, and that doesn't mean that you don't miss them and are really still affected by their death, but you will be okay. And this was just a really cute middle grade. So another one of the Netgalley books read, and I shall write a review of this one as well.